So are you prepared for the summer that's coming up soon?
The summer? Well, I guess so. I haven't... My summer clothes are in the loft. I'm not that ready. It's
You
quite
need
far
to
away.
adapt. Are you ready to adapt?
I don't know.
You need to adapt.
Why would I
What's with the
adapt?
hat? That's not a good enough hat. Have you adapted yet?
I don't
Adapt
think-
or die!
Oh! A bit much, wasn't it, really?
I just thought it would be an appropriate intro because
No,
it's
'cause
quite an aggressive topic.
It is. Things die.
Sad times.
Sad times.
So this chapter's called Adapt or Die. It's because at some parts of the world, sometimes you have to adapt
Or die.
die.
Yeah. So, dying, well, species becoming extinct is actually a very natural process and happens all the time. As the world changes to different species meet other species, one will come on top and the other one will disappear. But there's lots of reasons to why this happens.
Yeah. And we can link it all to our very famous climate change.
Yeah. I like climate change.
Oh, I hate it. It's huge. It kills polar bears.
I like polar bears.
So as the climate changes, things have to move. Things that deal with hotter climates would have to stay in hot areas. It's quite simple. And if the hotter areas move up and where they were becomes too hot, they're going to have to move with the heat.
Or they can change.
They have adaptations that mean they can survive in the hotter climate that will be coming if the Earth is getting hotter.
Yeah, say being far less furry if you're a polar bear, or having a tail that means you can swim better if you're a polar bear.
Perhaps. Don't know where the polar bears would go if they could swim though. It's quite a distance.
Just be a whale.
That's a massive adaptation.
It's
but
quite big.
You're getting the idea.
Quite big, yeah.
If you adapt to situations, you can stay there. If you don't adapt and can't move, that's when problems occur.
That is when problems occur, and humans are doing a lot of trying to keep species endangered alive, which is nice.
I like that. I like that. Sometimes the only way is to captive breed them.
Yeah,
Because sometimes there's no other way.
there's
You
nowhere for
can't
them to
help
go
the
anymore.
climate quick enough if
No.
we can help it at all. So if you put yourself in this situation,
Alright,
so you're in Madagascar,
I'm a Madagascar.
you're a monkey,
Alright, I'm there.
right? Just swinging through the trees, you're happy, you're swinging,
Alright,
you know.
okay.
It gets really, really bloody hot.
Yeah.
Too hot.
Too
You
hot.
can't deal with this. You're going to have to move north.
Oh, not just get a cold shower then.
Not enough. Not
Alright,
enough.
okay.
You could try dipping in the sea every day, but probably won't work. You're
Okay,
gonna get really
move
thirsty.
north. But I'm Madagascar then.
You can't swim.
Well, not very far.
So what's going to happen is because the climate is changing, it doesn't suddenly just go bing, really, really hot. Over time, you probably naturally have had some, what are they called?
Mutations.
Mutations.
And these occur naturally over all species, and generally the one that is more beneficial is one more likely to mate than the one that more likely to come on top. And this keeps on going, as natural selection is.
Yeah. So
Yes.
perhaps if you've got that monkey in
That
Madagascar,
monkey.
your great-great-great-grandparents might have had a mutation where they had less fur, so were able to be a bit colder.
See, all the other monkeys were laughing at me, but they'll be sorry soon.
They very much will be.
Yeah.
They might even be sorry now because your great-great-grandparents kept going. Now you're here. It's heated up significantly since then. There you go.
There you go.
You survived because of that natural mutation. That happens all the time.
It does. Mutations are pretty handy. Sometimes some animals do them a lot faster than others. For example, viruses, they're crazy quick.
They are very, very quick. They can become immune to things extremely quick.
Yeah, that's because of the size of the population they have. The chance of mutations is so much higher, so it just happens much quicker.
And that's one of the proofs you could use for Darwin's theory of evolution.
Mm.
It was observed when people with HIV, you gave them the medication. It was incredible how quickly the things became immune to any medication. It just didn't work very quickly.
Which is the main problem with HIV and why it's such a big problem in the world.
That's something you might have to know. That's one of the proofs for Darwin's things. There's some other things we need to know called DNA hybridization.
Yeah, hybridization, which is really cool. And that's how we could tell that we were quite closely related to chimps.
So if I looked at that chimp and went, that monkey looks just like me.
How would you know?
That's what I was wondering for a long time, and today I found out how.
Absolutely. So our genetic code of a monkey is quite similar, but we don't want to work out what they are one by one and compare a long list and go, yeah.
Because that would be too big and too hard to compare them all one by one. We don't even know them all.
No. So, but because they're quite similar, you can merge them, but only if you heat them a little bit.
So what you have to do is you have to obtain a sample of DNA from each, which isn't too hard. It's just a pluck of hair would be enough.
Yeah.
You need a DNA of each. If you've got the DNA and you gently heat it, it's going to separate into 2 strands, as it does normally.
Each will. There'll be a strand, 2 strands of chimp and 2 strands of human. And some of these will pair up because they're quite similar. Most bases are the same, and that'll be enough to hold it at quite a lot of lower temperature. It will break earlier than pure human would, but it will still hold it. And the temperature that happens at compared to the temperature it splits by itself is how closely related we are.
So if we call this the chimp one and this the human one, you'd have had 2 of each when they break apart. If these bond together, they're going to form the weak hydrogen bonds, as Trish said, but they're not going to be quite as strong as they were before, as Trish said.
Because not all of them will match, but a lot of them will.
And so say if you heated it to, I'm making these numbers up, but 50 degrees before, gently, to break the DNA and the chimp apart. Put them together, it might be, say, 30 degrees before they break, so it wouldn't be a very efficient breeding thing to have if you combined them.
But then you could compare it to, say, a banana.
If you combine the DNA of those.
Banana and us, and then that might not even stay together. And then you'll say that the chimp is more closely related to us than a banana. It's not a very good comparison.
This might have like a few hydrogen bonds like that, so it's much less pairing up.
Yeah.
Is the point of the whole thing.
And that's how we can tell that we're so closely related to chimps. There's a few other things we need to know, isn't there, Wayne?
There's DNA profiling.
Ah, yes. You'll learn a lot more about this later, but there's still stuff.
Topic 6, I believe.
Yeah, lots of things, topic 6.
And the idea is what's in forensics all the time, and gel electrophoresis, you learn it all in topic 6.
Yeah, but basically you want to know what people's DNA is, because everyone's DNA is sort of unique.
Yeah, you'll have different mutations, different lineups in parts.
Yeah.
Because although the DNA is tiny, the DNA is huge. There's so much in it.
Yeah. And there'll be one bit, I think it's 7th chromosome or something, but that is the one that's a bit different.
Yeah. And you can compare and contrast them between other things.
Mm-hmm.
So this is useful in forensics. If I kill Triv, and they found a piece of my hair on the floor, which is likely, it happens all the time, dead skin cells will have fallen off.
Yeah, and he molts.
I molt. I'm a puppy. And so they might take the DNA, and because I might be taken into questioning, they can take a bit of DNA from me, compare it to the DNA they found, and
if it's the same, they go, guilty.
Guilty.
Absolutely. And there is one more.
There's protein sequencing and molecular clocks.
2 more.
But the protein sequence is the same thing about comparing them up, but it compares the particular amino acids, because some things have amino acids that we don't have and make.
Yes.
Or they make them in different ways, or different orders of bases and stuff.
Horses, for example, have 11 more than us
for a particular amino acid.
Yeah.
Chimps have the same number, but a slightly different arrangement. And another type of monkey has a very different arrangement, but the same number. And
yeah.
You can compare the things between them, for amino acids in particular, rather than the whole DNA.
And in this topic, it's talking about how they're comparing to how far away they are on the evolutionary sort of family tree. But in topic 6, as Wayne said, it will be in more forensic detail.
But the next one I find particularly interesting, much like the first one, the hybridization,
which is great.
This one's molecular clocks. And over time you get these natural mutations. We've spoken about them quite a few times before. But now we can use them. And what they do is they compare the mutations now and the benefits and stuff like that. And they track it backwards to find out when species were the same thing. And this is better explained with speciation. So I'll write that up.
Now speciation is another one of your words that you need to know what means. So Wayne?
It's when 2 things that look very similar are actually different species, when 2 species actually are caught in the act of evolution.
There's quite a few things that have done this. In our biology lessons we watched a thing about 2 lizards, one living in a jungle and one moving into a cave.
And these were right next to each other. The jungle was outside the cave.
Yeah, so they were right next to each other, and they were...
That's a tree.
And that's a jungle there.
That's a jungle.
And they were identical, but then started splitting habitats, and they started changing actually quite quickly.
They did. So the lizards found in here were then taken and compared to the lizards found out here. They look slightly different.
Yeah.
But that's not enough to say they're a different species.
Sometimes that just happens between like me and Wayne are not the same.
Exactly. And so this was a lighter colour, I think, and this was a darker colour.
Yeah.
So this was darker to blend in with the leaves and the mud on the floor. This was like a pale whitey colour
Yeah.
to blend in with the chalk rock.
But they can compare them, and then they could go back and finding other ones that were sort of less along that scale, and work out that their common ancestor was just the one in the jungle.
Yeah. So they take the DNA of this one, they compare it to the DNA of this one.
Using all the other methods stated before.
So it's going to line up at parts, but not 100% because of the mutations. And that's how you find out with a molecular clock, is what it calls, how long ago they were a thing. And it's not very long, they very quickly adapted.
Which is quite snazzy.
I find that really interesting. That's a new word you need to know. And I think that's it for this chapter.
I think it
You've got
is.
to adapt, or you're going to die.
So that's life advice, guys. Adapt. Do it.
Yeah.
Go like Stegosaurus style things. That'd be
Or
great.
even better, humans are pretty good. Help animals to adapt, essentially.
Oh,
That'd be nice.
real
wouldn't
nice,
it?
honey.
Yeah, like giving polar bears wings.
Polar bears are winning, terrible.
Just give them Red Bull.